Hobo stepped away.
Let me write down my notes for the worst. Pretty sure it was fucking Konami and that crap emulator that they try to make.
Yeah, it's on my stream.
I'm not going from BDU.
Waiting for this thing to play, and it's not playing. Do I have too long of a?
No, it's
Do I
playing.
have too long of a?
No, it's
There we
playing.
go.
No,
And
it's
I can
playing.
hear all of you.
This just in. Breaking news. Bacon is tasty. Chris McSizzles is on the scene, reporting live.
It's called fake news. Fake news. You are fake news. It's all fake news. Fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen. It's all fake news.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging out with us tonight on the second episode of Technically Difficult, a podcast about anything and everything, bringing you today's news tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined tonight by a special guest. We have Chocolate Thunder TV.
What's up? What's up?
Go ahead and introduce yourself and let everybody know what's going on, man.
All right. Well, everybody, I'm Hobo to most people. Cario to family members and other friends, but primarily on Twitch, I am known as Chocolate Thunder. I play a host of different types of games, like FPSs for the most part. I'm a big variety streamer. I like MMOs. I do your standard FPS. Ring of Elysium is my crack right now. Come find me in Europa. I'm guaranteed to smoke you, ass Thorn. Um, but for the most part, I've been streaming about 2 or 3 years, man. I've been taking my time with my growth and with my channel, but been doing some overhauling here and there. But I'm happy to be on Technically Difficult. Ready to talk about some stuff, man.
All the stuff.
All the stuff. And then there's Thorn. Go ahead, Thorn.
Oh, so are we?
Just a brief, what you been up to?
Work, man. I haven't streamed in like 2 weeks. I just can't find like I have the time, but it's like I sit down. I'm like, man, I just don't want to right now. I don't. I'm not feeling very I guess entertaining is a good way to put it. But I was actually looking forward to doing this. I love doing podcasts, and then this is something that we have, like Matt and I have talked about all the time. Like when we start out our streams, when we're co-streaming together, we'll sit and we'll spend like 30 minutes talking about gaming news or movies or whatever. And we're like, you know what, we need to do a podcast because this is perfect material.
Yep.
So we're just gonna we'll probably still talk about it on our individual streams, I imagine. But yeah, that's what we're doing.
Pretty much this is going to be like at least a monthly thing where we can really put our thoughts together, and we don't have to focus on the game while we're talking about it. We can just get in here and bang out our thoughts and have a good time doing so. And as you all know, I'm Mad Wolf Gaming, found on all social media at Mad Wolf Gaming, primarily a variety streamer. Play whatever the hell I want, whenever the hell I want, and that's pretty much what it goes by. Today we're going to be talking about the second day of E3. You know what? And I did not switch over the freaking. We're gonna be talking about the second day of E3, and doing stuff like that. So, Thorn, if you want to pick it up for a second here, I'm gonna update the title here real quick here, and we'll get this all fixed.
All right, so some filler here. So what we did on what we did on Monday is we went through just kind of day. We won't call it day one. We'll call it day like half because the E3 officially starts like on Monday, but a lot of your big time developers and companies, they go like on Saturday and Sunday. So We did a review of all of that, and I think Matt and I both agreed that Cyberpunk 2077 was really the big. It was my big winner. It looked awesome. I don't know how Matt feels, but I think that won the first 2 days anyway.
So we really didn't get the chance that we went through all of our stuff there. But Thunder, what do you have? What was your big take from the first few Microsoft, Bethesda? What was the other one? Ubisoft. And PC Gaming Show? What was your big takeaways from those?
I feel like, well, to touch on Ubisoft, since that was the last one that you mentioned, I feel like Ubisoft is, I don't want to say presenting the same type of material, but I don't really see a bunch of new innovation coming from Ubisoft. With what was it, Watch Dogs?
Watch Dogs,
Watch Dogs Legion.
Well, yeah, it sounds like a good thing, but I really don't see anything that just makes me want to run out and grab it. I do like the Division roadmap, the Division 2 roadmap. At least they're being upfront about their plans. I remember them being a little bit more bashful based off of how their first one went and their lack of in-game. But Ubisoft, I want to say, like, on a scale of 1 to 5, I think they're hanging around in the 3.5 area. They're being consistent, but I don't really see a bunch coming out of that camp. As for stuff that's just going to immediately want me to buy this game, I don't see a bunch running from them.
They found a format that I think works for them, and I think they're sticking to it. And I think that's what they've got going on there.
Yeah, that makes a bunch of sense. Are you familiar with like NASCAR? Any of y'all?
Yep.
So you know those racers that don't try to win, they just try to stay consistent the whole race. That's how I feel like Ubisoft is doing. They're not going for podium. They don't want to be in the back of the pack. They just want to run in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think that's going to hurt them just by not taking that leap off the porch and doing something wild?
With their formula, I think as long as they don't pull a Bethesda with Fallout 76,
oh god,
I think they're going to be okay. I mean, you've got Wildlands, you've got Division, Rainbow Six has got a big following.
Yeah, I was happy about the was it kind of zombie style Rainbow Six survival PvE style. I'm happy that they turned the coin on that instead of it going from this crazy super tactical PvP. That they actually threw in like a PvE situation. I actually do like that. That's probably the only Rainbow Six that I will actually really try, because I'm crap at the other one.
Yeah.
I could see what you're saying and where they're kind of playing it safe. They're not stepping out of that comfort zone that they've developed over the past couple of years. I can see that, but I also think that is exactly what they feel they need to do right now. I don't, because all of their titles. I mean, like Division 2, successful.
Yeah.
And then Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs 1 was successful. It was buggy as all hell, but it was successful. 2 was successful, so they've got something that works there. The Ghost Recon, I guess kind of the follow-up to Wildlands. That looks like it's going to be good. So,
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, while they're still doing the same thing that they've always done, it's working. And like Matt said with Bethesda's they screwed the pooch on that one. By stepping outside of what Fallout was to everybody. And when you develop these games and you get pretty much a mass and a cult following of these games, you really can't step outside of that because people are.
It's like expectations, right?
Oh yeah, it's just like Destiny. It's so much like Destiny. That now Bungie is where, in my opinion, like where Bethesda was before doing Fallout 76. Like they are right there. Like we can either, take a dive off into the deep end, or we can just keep on going on the safe path.
It's funny that you say that because I was just going to say the same thing. Where when Division 1 came out, Ubisoft was kind of where Bethesda is right now. They didn't know where they were going. They were playing damage control. They were trying to catch up. And now they've got a good formula with Division 2, and they're in the good spot, and Bethesda's reeling and trying to catch up with their shit. And it's just kind of where it went. So
would you consider Bethesda to be the most risk taking at the moment, considering how they just kind of threw 76 out there?
I don't know if I would call it like a risk or just really bad development.
I think it was a money grab. I think they were trying to catch on.
So?
I think they were trying to catch the hot basket. They saw what people were going for, which was the survival type games.
Mm-hmm.
They thought they were already in that genre with Fallout 4, and they were like, well, let's just run out and throw another game out there and get it out there. And
it just felt so hollow.
And I think you're right. I think it felt hollow. I think they had to take. I think immediately when it dropped, they had to, and they started getting that backlash. They started calling in all their voice actors to get all the new stuff made for the upcoming release that they announced with the human NPCs. It's a little too late to maybe save that aspect. Who knows? It could turn out to be a really good game. I'm hearing good things about it. I haven't jumped into it yet, but you never know.
You know that whole. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Mine is completely off track. That's something that we didn't talk about.
Mine's is like the whole saving face with Bethesda trying to save face from 76 totally feels so Anthem-ish right now.
You said the A word.
Yeah. I'm sure y'all touched on that, and I'm really glad they didn't say anything about that.
I did not even think about it prior to you saying that, but you're right.
EA is all saving face.
Yeah, right now EA is trying to save face with that one. Bethesda is trying to save face with that one. It is a good comparison right now where those three companies are at, different from each other.
Yeah.
Gosh, that was so bad.
Anthem had so much potential too, and I don't think they will ever climb back from it.
So if we say Anthem as a title, and we relay the developer, do you think that BioWare can climb out of this shitstorm?
I think so?
This is their second game in a row that they've dropped the ball on.
What was the other one? Just refresh my memory.
Andromeda.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
but that was also.
That was a different team too.
Andromeda was a good game if you wouldn't have put Mass Effect title on it. I think that's where it took the biggest hit.
Good story, but it was buggy as all hell too. I mean,
yeah, I'll give you that one.
So here's the thing, and not to be like the Bungie or the Destiny fanboy or whatever, but if BioWare would step away from EA,
oh my God, praise God,
it would be a great. But unfortunately, because of how many titles that BioWare has messed up in the recent years, because of the relationship with EA, and then everything that it comes along with EA from like the Star Wars Battlefront 2 and all the pay to play type stuff, it's left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. So I don't know if BioWare could recover. It's very possible that they could, but I think that they would have to step away from EA as well. And then they would either have to self-publish or they would probably reach out to Activision, which would be another bad decision.
God, these parent companies, man, they ruin games for us.
They because a publisher has no skin in the game. They are just there, just cashing the checks, man. That's so all.
Here's where my hope lies, and this is where we go back to another EA title we talked about on Monday night with Respawn and the upcoming Jedi Fallen Empire.
Oh, okay.
Respawn has put out a good game in Titanfall 2. They were lacking the story, but they've got EA now backing them on the story, and I'm sure that BioWare and other teams have put some input in on that. I don't know for certain. I'm just speculating. this is an opportunity for Respawn to establish themselves as the primary company under EA right now with this game.
Yeah, that is true, and then I wonder because of like the Star Wars Battlefront and Battlefront 2 and all of that, if EA has some kind of video game developer rights to the Star Wars franchise.
They're exclusive right now.
Yeah,
They-
so that
Yeah.
be a big,
And not to mention Respawn's current success with Apex, so they got a foothold in the I guess
Respawn.
esports,
Yep.
the esports genre.
They have the chance to grab a hold of EA and become their top developer with these two titles, Apex and with Jedi Fallen Empire. And that could be a whole shift of what we see coming up with that whole thing. Let's jump into some of this stuff from Square Enix, guys. And we at the end of Monday's show, we actually showed the announcement of the Avengers game that Square Enix has coming out. And I watched their live cast after the fact. I watched it on yesterday, to be exact. And it looks like they have a long-term plan for this game. So if you haven't seen this game, guys, it looks like it could be really good. They're talking already about free expansions. They're talking about new characters coming in. So not just the base 5, Hulk, Thor, Black Widow, Iron Man, Captain America. You're talking about more down the line, which I'm assuming is going to be Black Panther, stuff like that in the further DLCs. All the game is supposed to be, and this is just what I remember them saying, and from what I've read, there is going to be upgrade paths for the characters so that you can upgrade and customize them a little bit. I don't know if it's going to be looks or other things to suits, but this game could be Square Enix's answer to the Spider-Man franchise that Sony has right now.
I don't know. I haven't played. I haven't played the Spider-Man game. I wanted to, but I didn't have a PlayStation 4.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I watched when you and I watched the premiere of this Avengers game, I wasn't impressed. It looked like a step back in time to like an Xbox 360 or something like that. I mean, it wasn't. Gameplay might be good. Story it might be good. I just to me it kind of comes across as like a cash grab because of how successful the Avengers movies were.
I was just about to say it feels like a gimmick. It's like a
Yeah.
piggyback.
I'm gonna, it comes out next March or May or something like that. I'll look it up here in a little bit, but it's gonna be one that I'm gonna keep an eye on. I'm not saying it's a win or a loss for me. I'm saying it's one that it's piqued my interest as a comic book fan. Other things that came out from Square Enix, obviously there was a lot of Final Fantasy remakes, remasters, whatever you want to call it.
Masters. So the Final Fantasy VII remake. This reading up on it, it's going to take up 2 entire Blu-ray discs.
Oh my god!
It looks like a brand new game. It looks nothing like what Final Fantasy did. Where it's the sides or the little top-down map. You are physically a 3D modeled character playing in the Final Fantasy world. So
Now, is this a full remaster or just like a reskin?
It's a remake.
It's not a remaster; it's a remake. So they said it said open Square Enix's show and announced that the game will take part in 2 parts, one within Midgar, which is the big city, and one outside of Midgar.
Okay.
So here's some of the gameplay of it, as you can see on the stream right now. This is obviously one of the trailers here.
Yeah, it's taken away the battle aspect that was in Final Fantasy VII.
It was on turn base.
There we go.
The time battle and whatnot.
So there you can kind of see some of the. I was watching some of the actual battle with one of the bosses between Cloud and Barrett, fighting this big old thing, and it looks more live action. It's got some of the old Star Wars, Old Republic mechanics where you can pause it live to maybe set up and cast a spell, or to do other things. It's got a lot of that on it, and It's kind of got
What
me
I do
intrigued.
like about it, it has the old entrance when you encounter a mob, they jump in that triangle style.
Yeah.
It has the old I don't want to say physics, but some of the old inspirations of the old animations, and it does feel like you do fight in turns. You fight your own particular mob in this particular cinematic.
Yeah, in the battle that I saw, and I don't know if they have it in here, but in the battle that I saw where it doesn't show it, but where they showed it at is Barrett, and you could easily switch between Cloud and Barrett in this fight. It wasn't any delay between switching from one to the other. You literally jumped from one to the other, and it went pretty smooth. So this is a game that I wasn't hyped for before, but I'm hyped
Ooh,
for now.
A Q1 game, so okay.
Yeah, it's like March.
March 3rd.
Yeah. So again, that's one that surprised me from how good it looked. Was that, and going forward there.
Now, speaking of dates, do you feel like Square Enix is going to stay true and keep it Q1 because of the possible competition, or do you think they'll push it back?
I think both's in the play.
You know, to be honest with you.
Honestly, I don't think they'll push this back. Not the.
I hope not.
If it were like a new game, probably. But Final Fantasy VII. I mean, you ask anybody about the Final Fantasy series, and they say it's Aeris and Cloud, and that's who everybody remembers.
Yep.
So.
And then they announced the new Final Fantasy XIV expansion, Shadowbringer. That one looked kind of interesting, but I don't know enough about Final Fantasy XIV to give a good comment on it. So
I'm trying to recover my account at the moment. I played it like 3 years ago, put the authenticator on my account, then switched phones, got an iPhone, switched computers, built a new one, and I don't have the emergency recover password from the initial installation.
Ooh.
So now I'm waiting on Square Enix to try to sort my account out so I don't have to create a new one.
And they had Dragon Quest announcements, War of Visions. This game here, this Outriders. Lots of content and stuff to do in Endgame. That could be. I haven't played it. I've never. My whole philosophy on Final Fantasy VII, this is going to sound really bad, is if it's the Final Fantasy, why is there 14 remakes?
This is the Final Fantasy.
This is it, guys. This is it.
For anybody that doesn't know, my wife does not play video games, does not get video games at all. And so a couple of years back when Final Fantasy 15 was coming out, she was asking, for birthday and Christmas. My birthday is in November, and so it's like at the end of November. So we sometimes kind of just mash it all together, birthday and Christmas. So like, okay, so what do you want? And so I was making her list. I was like, oh yeah, Final Fantasy 15. She's like, 15? 15? I'm like, no, you don't get it. It's a completely different game. Then why are they calling it 15? I don't know, but it's awesome. Get it for me.
This is another one that I found to be kind of interesting. This is a new IP that they've got. It's called Outriders. From the creators of Gears of War, Judgment, and Bulletstorm. It looked kind of interesting. And I'm going to kind of just speed through some of the stuff here, but it really has a lot of different things. Apparently, it's just a very open world game, and it looks interesting. It's another one I think I'm going to keep my eye on. So, but apparently all your characters are fully customizable, so that'll be kind of interesting there.
Yep.
That thing looks badass.
Yeah.
What the hell?
What was that thing here? Let's look.
It looks like the thing from the Upside Down in the Stranger Things.
That thing right there. That's a shot, man, right there. But this is a game that when they announced it and I saw it and they explained it, and unfortunately I can't remember all of it right now, but it looked really, really good.
I didn't get to watch this one. How did they come up with this particular type of theme for this game? Where did the inspiration come from?
What it says here is it's a change up from Square's typical fare. This co-op shooter that appears to also involve magic could be interesting. That's really all I have on the site that I'm looking for. So it's one to
I
watch.
have to do some digging.
Yeah.
It might be good. I don't know how long that might play for.
It depends. It's a new IP, so it's one that you just don't know how it's going to go. That pretty much covers most of Square Enix, guys. Does anybody want to touch anything else by Square?
Just looking, see. So I'm going through a full recap to see if there was anything. No, Square. No, I mean I think that does everything.
Yeah.
I like Square. They beat their own drum. They don't really.
Yeah, that's the truth. They, if they want to make something, they make it.
Yeah. And they make it well. That's the funny part about it. And if it takes them 5 years to make it, then that's what it takes them.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So I didn't watch all of AMD. So this is probably more in your line, Hobo. I know you watched the AMD conference here, and I saw.
Oh yeah.
I saw the highlights of it, and the one thing I can say is, as I told my wife after I watched the highlights from it, was if I hadn't already upgraded, I'd be waiting for that new 16-core processor they got coming out.
Yeah, now is the time in reference to, well, it's July 7th is the actual date.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the Radeon graphics cards hit the market. That's kind of trash. Like they went back to the old nomenclature. They went back to the 5700 series, which is like at least like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago, but they called it the XT. So I happened to be in the AMD channel, and it was like 5700 extra trash because they didn't give any 1080 or 2080 variants. They only put out the mid-tier cards. And when I went to think about it, I was like, you know what? This is exactly where Radeon is. Radeon never really competed on the end-tier spectrum of enthusiast graphics cards. They've always made the middle of the road, kind of moderate budget card. But when you flip the coin and you look at what AMD is doing on the CPU side, it's light years. I mean, they've got it down to a 7-nanometer architecture. They've reduced the thermals by almost half. Like one of their 8-core 12 threads, which I want to say it's the 3700X, which is an upgrade to my 2700. My 2700X runs stock thermals at 106 watts. The 3700X is going to run at either 65 or 95 watts. That's going to save you so much on just ambient temperatures or your actual throughput temperatures at load. But this whole 3 series is revolutionary for them because they actually have taken a huge step up over Intel since the Athlon days.
Yeah, as somebody put it, you can now build a budget gaming PC without breaking the bank with what AMD is putting out, and it will compete toe for toe with what Intel is doing.
And the funny part is, I don't know where they get their metrics and how they do their benchmarks or their testing, but almost across the board against their chip for chip, it's about a 16% gap of performance. That's really huge considering that the cost is almost half. AMD's top tier, well, we're not going to get into their X series, but their 9900K is about $600, $700, something like that. But when they compare core to core, which is what AMD does, they compare 12 to 12. Intel's 12 core is about $1,200.
Mm-hmm.
AMD's 12 core is $600, and beat it by 16%. And multi-threading, hyper-threading, single core performance, it was great. I feel like Team Red in this current situation has the opportunity to take the market for once, considering that they had set themselves back with the delay of Ryzen and the development of Ryzen, and Intel just ran free.
Yep.
the competition is going to bring the prices down on the Intel side, they have no choice.
Yep.
Yeah.
You have no choice.
I read somewhere through all of this when it was released, and I don't remember exactly where, but somebody said that Intel isn't due for another major revision until 2022. Which
Their current focus is laptops. I don't know why.
Yeah. If that's the case, and they're not going to do another major desktop overview to 2022, AMD is going to overtake the market. There's nothing else I can say about that. It's going to happen because they're good processors for a reasonable price.
Yeah.
I mean, that 16 core that they announced, that top end line that they're bringing out for their
3900.
Yeah, it's topped out at what, $759, $799, somewhere in there. That's what I paid for my i9.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to put a dent in Intel, and if Intel does now not take them seriously, they're going to be in trouble in a few years.
Here's the funny part. Did you happen to see, did either of you see the demonstration where they took Intel's high 12 core versus AMD's 12 core? And we're all streamers here, so we understand the whole bit rate to encoding speed. They put them both. They use YouTube as the testing site because you can throw tons and tons of bandwidth at it.
Mm-hmm.
They streamed it on slow preset, single PC, 10,000 kilobits a second. Intel couldn't even break 2 frames. Couldn't break 2 frames. They topped out and averaged 1.6 frames, whereas AMD averaged 59 frames.
Wow.
Single PC streaming, The Division on high settings.
It's going to be interesting, and if they can get their taking the AMD versus NVIDIA is different than AMD versus Intel. NVIDIA is still innovating. They've still got a lot of things coming out. AMD's having a hard time keeping up in that market. Good budget cards. I'm not going to say anything away from those cards, but it's going to be harder for them, I think, to take that video card market away from NVIDIA than it is for them to overtake the CPU market.
I did hear them acquire some developers or engineers from NVIDIA to come to the Radeon camp. Now, I don't know where they were in the market at NVIDIA, but having them there, I think the one thing that AMD should focus on is getting away from this blower style founders cards. NVIDIA does it, and they've currently equipped it with the ACX 3.0 dual fans, but Radeon likes to debut their new card. It's like this long, and it's blower style, and out of the box is going to run at about 75 degrees.
Yeah.
And that's too hot for me. That's way too hot for me.
So you almost do like some high-end water cooling when something is running that hot, just out of the box.
Yeah, what was it? Their R9 used to run at 89 degrees, and they said that was normal working temperature.
Yeah, that's
and they had a water cooler on it too.
That's too hot.
You know, it is what it is. They, like I said, they're good budget cards. If you can't afford a big Intel, there's nothing wrong with going with a Radeon, especially if you're already running an AMD chipset on your CPU.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, that's what it is.
I'm happy for them, though. I really would like them to succeed. I don't want to say I've been an AMD fanboy, but I've liked them throughout growing up. Because my very first build, I'm kind of partial. My very first build was a 945 Black Edition, the older 4 cores from AMD. And that's when everything that AMD, they was boasting about, oh, we have more cores, but they were losing on the single core performance. But now, this whole Ryzen thing is revolutionary, and they got the big bid from Microsoft. I think they got the bid from
PS4
Sony
as well.
too.
Yeah, that's going to be in both the next gen consoles. So, all right. So let's move on to Nintendo and their conference.
Treehouse.
The Treehouse was there. It was basically on one of their normal Nintendo Directs, just enlarged a little bit for E3.
Yep.
Biggest things I got out of this, obviously, for those that like Super Smash Brothers, we got the 2 new Smash characters announced. You got the hero from Dragon Quest and Banjo and Kazooie.
Okay.
Decent characters, but It's not what I was expecting. Not over the top. Not an Banjo and Kazooie to me is not an E3 character release. You needed something with a bigger splash. It's a good, solid character, just not a splash character to me.
Yeah, Nintendo didn't have a whole lot. It didn't look like to come to E3 with. They had like the sequel to Breath of the Wild that they announced or teased. Really, it wasn't really an announcement because it wasn't even a title or anything. It's just teased. But it wasn't really anything in depth. The new characters. I mean, if I won't say they lost E3. I won't, because they didn't win it either, though. So it's just kind of.
You really have about 3 titles that people are looking for out of this Nintendo conference. As far as new titles, you have the new Luigi Mansion that people were kind of excited for. So that got a splash. You have, what is that? Animal Crossing.
Yep.
I don't get it, but whatever. And then obviously you had the 2 Zelda games that were announced. The one is a little closer to being done, and then Breath of the Wild doesn't even have. We just know they're making it. We know nothing else besides what was in the trailer.
I'll tell you, I do love the Link's Awakening remaster, because I had so much time put into that game on Game Boy, on the original Game Boy. So much time put into it. So, but it looked different too. I don't know if I'll like it because it looked a lot different from the Game Boy game that I played.
I've got 2 feelings on that game. And the first one was when I first saw it, my line was, this is your big Link game that you're announcing? And that was before I saw, obviously, the end of it. And I'm like, what's the call for this? I mean, I don't want to play a game that feels like that on a newer console. And then there is, at the end, the Link's Awakening, and that kind of brought me around to say, okay, so now I'm not mad about this release because they are answering their next-gen console Link. So...
Yeah, well, and then to me, because it brings into question the whole Zelda canon.
Yeah.
And the timelines, and so I don't get it. I don't understand why they're doing it, but I'm not upset about it at all because it was a fun game to play, and they did have that kind of like what Assassin's Creed did, where you can create your own dungeon.
I did see that. That was kind of neat.
Which, I mean, I could see myself maybe playing with that for 30 minutes and then getting bored. But I have Dame ADD, as a lot of y'all know. I have a hard time sticking with something if it doesn't just really jump out and grab my attention.
Right. And then if you follow the Twitterverse, Pokemon Go is getting, or the new Pokemon Sword and Shield is getting all kinds of backlash from both sides. Either that people are all up in static about how great it's going to be, and other people are like, "Really? You got that Pokemon coming out?"
I heard about that.
If you're into that thing, you're going to be on one side of the fence or the other. And somebody like me is like, they're missing. I came home from the Nintendo conference the other day, and I had probably about a 30-minute conversation with my kids, with my 2 older kids. And I personally feel with the Switch and where they're at, they're missing out on a grand game that they could be doing with Pokemon instead of re-releasing the same thing with some enhancements. You're going to see basically the same map you've seen since Red, Yellow, and Blue, or whatever it was. It's more or less the same map, just enhanced.
Really?
As far as I know. Pokemon Go, or the Pokemon Eevee in that, is more or less the same map that was released in red, blue, and green, or whatever the hell colors they were at the very beginning. They're just rehashing the same stuff, new Pokemon, calling it a new world, and that a new region, and that's it. So the conversation I have with them is what they need to do is they need to go back and recreate Pokemon from the ground up. Not necessarily, but do what's called Pokemon World. Do their one last release for Pokemon game, and then instead of releasing a new game every year, release a new region with just new maps and new Pokemon. to me, Pokemon is the perfect MMO that's not an MMO.
It's always been that way, right? It's always been super open world, except for when you have to go through the ladder style at the gym. But
Yeah.
besides that, it's been as much open survival as possible, considering that you run into Pidgeys every 3 steps.
It's
Yep.
annoying. Oh, that
Oh
was
my god.
And then there was a lot of other games, smaller games that were released. Elder Scrolls Blades, Doom Eternal, Wolfenstein Youngblood. You know,
The Blaze.
Mad Wolf.
Isn't that the card game?
that's their mobile game, dude.
That interested Mad Wolf so much he created new words.
Is that a mobile game? I must have missed
Yeah,
that. What's that Elder Scrolls card game that was supposed to rival Hearthstone?
Elder Scrolls Legends, I believe is what it's called.
Great.
It's okay. It's just like any other card game. It is what it is. This is the one that we kind of went under the radar with on the PC or on the Xbox 2. Is I don't know if you guys saw the announcement for Minecraft Dungeons.
Yep.
It reminds me of Diablo Minecraft style.
Really?
Yes.
That's exactly what I got from it. Is you create characters and it looks like Diablo in the block world. Now Xander, my son, will argue with me all day that it's a dungeon crawler. Blah, blah. It's Diablo with a Minecraft skin. I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like to me.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that either, but
Yeah.
I think it's going to turn heads for a little bit. People try it just because people play Diablo.
They're gonna bring in 2 crowds with that. You're gonna bring in your Minecraft crowd, and you're gonna bring in your Diablo dungeon crawler crowd. They're not gonna go wrong with that game. Unless it's flops flat on its face and it's buggy as hell, and they're not gonna fall on their face. It's gonna have a following. It is what it is. I'm not knocking him for that game. It's just that's what it is.
Funny part is, I already know I'm going to try it.
I know Xander's gonna probably want it. So I know the young one's gonna probably want it. So I'm gonna at least look at it and see it before I try it, and then see what happens from there. So it'll be one of its things there.
I'm not even a Minecraft fan, but the mixture of it is enticing.
It's to me what bugs me is with Minecraft is I'm not into the building and the minute details of all that, but that might get me involved because it's more action based.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else from Nintendo you guys picked up on?
Not really.
Okay.
Opinions on if you had to add a Smash character, who would you add? Just pure opinion. It doesn't matter.
I don't even know all the Smash characters that are in there. I played the original Smash Brothers. I don't.
All those characters are in it right now.
Yeah. So and more. I mean, Let's. I have no clue.
To me, the one that's missing that everybody, all the fans want, and everyone wants to has it is Waluigi. I know he's an assist trophy, and my son keeps saying, "Well, they're not going to put him in because he's an assist trophy." But it's one that everybody's clamoring for, and it's one that I feel would be a very good fan favorite, depending on the moveset. But I think he could be a very good character.
Okay. I just don't know enough characters from the Nintendo world space to make a.
But you can even break away from that because look what they did with Joker from Persona 5. He's got no touch in the Nintendo universe, but yet he's in Smash Brothers, and he's a really good character. So people are saying that he's really well done and he's a very good character. So you could literally bring anybody in from any console, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Chewbacca. There we go. Chewbacca and Han Solo. They fly in on the Millennium Falcon.
Well, I'm gonna actually I'm gonna make some kind of small thoughts of what I think is gonna happen. I think they're gonna touch base with another Microsoft character. I think you're gonna see Master Chief at some point.
I was just about to say that.
and I think you're going to see, possibly because of the new partnership with NetherRealm Studios, I think you're going to see a toned down Mortal Kombat character of some sort.
I was about to say like a Sub-Zero. They had to get like
Yep.
I think there's only 3 main ones you can pick: Sub-Zero, Liu
Scorpion.
Kang, or Scorpion.
Raiden may be another one.
Raiden, oh yeah.
So there's 4 that you could do. I think you're only going to get one, if any.
Probably
Raiden would
Scorpion.
be- no, because Scorpion.
Scorpion, I think, is a
Because-
little too hardcore for that game.
It's Nintendo. It's Nintendo. So
My first bet would probably be Sub-Zero, if any.
my first bet would be Raiden, because he's
Raiden's
the
old.
He's the realm. He's all that's pure and holy and all of that.
But I think Scorpion, because he's pretty much been the face of Mortal Kombat for like the last 3 or 4 releases,
All right.
and maybe one of the most widely played characters too.
It's going to be very interesting to see what they do with that. My problem that I have with it is that's taking them too long to put the characters out.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time they pick up a character, you lost interest in the game before the next one comes out.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that pretty much wraps up all of the shows. So now let's go into what we feel is our bottom 5 things. Overall, it could be from the pre-show stuff, the Nintendo Treehouse stuff, which wasn't directly, shown on their direct, any of that stuff. I'm gonna start with you, Hobo. What was your
So hold on, from just the past 2 days, or
from the whole show? The whole show.
The whole convention. So
Yep,
what was my
everything so
number
far.
5 worst?
Yeah. So probably your highest of the worst things that happened there.
My highest of the worst things is Konami's direction with this weird emulator. It looks so weak. It just looks so bad.
Which one is that?
What's the name of it? It's 3 different ones. They had the Japanese guy out with the translator. Let me find the name of it.
Oh, you're talking about something in Square Enix this conference?
Whatever the new little, the TurboGrafx 16. That's the name of it.
I didn't even see that, but hey.
Yeah, it's a TurboGrafx 16 mini, which if I'm not mistaken, it's supposed to be a console that's supposed to bring back 16-bit gaming.
it was y'all don't remember the TurboGrafx?
It's so bad though. It's like
Yeah.
we've already progressed past 8-bit, and we had a little revamp with 8-bit being popular for a while, but going back to 16-bit, you might as well just redo 64.
Yeah.
You might as well.
That's coming.
I wouldn't be surprised. All right, Thorn, what's yours?
Right up here. Oh, you can't. Nobody can see it because it's cropped out. But there's my NES Classic right up there. The worst of the whole event. I'm going to stay pat with Bethesda. There just wasn't enough there, and it's 2 years in a row.
I'm going to say that, for me, and I'm going to probably get eaten for this, but I think if we're doing the top 5, the thing that I thought it belongs in there is the Nintendo conference as a whole. There was no splash to me that made me say, I want to go out and get that now. That's just
I can agree with that.
what I got there. Now, if you go to my number 4, if I have to go back and think about it, my number 4 is probably, I would probably go. I had a big old long list, and now it just went poof out of my brain. I would have to say it's probably the lack of presence of PlayStation, of Sony at the conference. I think that
was actually my number 1.
there was nothing there for them, so and I think that I don't say it's going to hurt them, but it didn't help them to not be there. Go ahead, Thorn.
Oh, that was my number 1. Trying to think of anything. Yeah, Nintendo just didn't have a whole lot. If it really, Nintendo didn't have anything. If to me, and if it doesn't, like, if it doesn't register on the thermometer or whatever, then it's in my mind, it's like, why did you even show up? If you can't get a little bit of hype, then why even show up? And Nintendo didn't even move that needle at all.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, why were you even there? And maybe that's why Sony didn't show up, because they had nothing to put out. You know,
Yep. What do you got, Hobo?
Mine was probably Ubisoft for number 4, just because of the whole middle of the road pack. I felt like they could have stepped outside the box, but I understand why. But I don't feel like it was kind of like how Thorn said, it didn't move me to go out and go get the new Watch Dogs. Or now the thing that I already knew about, we already knew about the Tom Clancy Ghost Recon.
Mhm.
That was already the operation thing. We already knew about that. So that wasn't new, but anything to just make me run out and just jump on the bandwagon for something is probably Ubisoft's.
What's your number 3?
My number 3, have it written down over
Matt
here.
Wolf was doing the snake draft like in Fantasy League.
Back and forth.
The methodology
It
is used.
works. It works.
Mm, probably the whole I'm probably gonna say Cyberpunk is way up on like number 1 or 2 for me. So number 3, kind of the middle of the road thing. Probably Square Enix. The whole Final Fantasy. I haven't played a lot of Final Fantasy stuff a lot, but I'm not gonna put it down low. I'm gonna put it in the middle of the pack. I was impressed with their direction with 7, but I think it's gonna be a game that, you know, I'm not gonna play more than 1 or 2 times.
Thorn?
So are we doing our 5 worst or
Five worst right now.
okay, 5 worst?
Oh shit! I did from like worst to best. Okay.
That's fine. So basically, what you're saying is on yours you had
So my worst was Konami's new
the console. Okay.
direction,
Yeah.
and then I said Ubisoft's. So my third one was like, did you happen to see about the whole the bandwagon? Everybody's making this subscription thing now. Oh,
Yep.
come join the EA Play or Ubisoft Play. I'm so tired of those. It's a big cash grab. We have over 200 games in our inventory. Uh, I I was really pissed, and they took up a big segment talking about that.
So you're actually going a little bit different than where I was going with those, but we'll discuss that when it gets time.
Okay, cool,
So,
cool.
Thorn.
So for me, and I would say Square is kind of in the middle of the bad Square Enix. Um, and this is probably this is not a popular opinion, but I am so fucking tired of remakes and remasters and all this. I want something original. I cannot stand. To me, companies, and it's not just video games. It's movies. It's all this stuff. And you know, when you do this and you say, "Oh, well, it's new and all that." Well, okay, yeah. I mean, it has some polish on it. It looks better than what it did before. But give me something new, you know. Um, like a few years ago when the Final Fantasy VII the movie came out, the Advent Children,
Hmm.
that continued the story after Final Fantasy VII ended. I loved it. You know, continue the story, give us something more to it, and take us further. They could have done that. They could have done something like that. Um, I just, to me, when companies do that, they've run out of ideas, and to me, it's just it's going for a cash grab because they're wanting to, and especially because they picked Final Fantasy VII. because it's in my opinion, the biggest title that they've came out with in the Final Fantasy series. So they're just looking to bank off of the name. So
Mine
don't
is
don't hate
my.
me on
Go
this
ahead.
channel. So it's Mad Wolf's fault.
My number 3 was actually, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but they announced that I believe it was, I was looking for it right now. Ubisoft announced, I think it was Ubisoft, but they've got this TV show coming out for Apple TV about game development studio designed by the people with Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And to me, I'm like, I get why it was announced at E3 that you're doing this, but it's, to me, it really wasn't. It just, it's cheap advertisement for something that I'm not gonna watch. Because I'm not gonna go out and buy Apple TV just for one TV show, you know. So that to me was kind of, you know.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going through these things here. And then for me, the second, my second lowest here, the things I thought was the most, the emphasis on all these mobile titles that they got coming out. Just in general, every conference had 5 or 6 new mobile titles that are coming out, and it's good, but to me, it's not really a big splash for me. I'm not gonna go out and download a game for my phone that I'm only going to play once in a while when I've got other things I'm going to be doing at that point in time. I don't know. For me, it just wasn't a big grab.
Yeah, I don't understand the mobile gaming thing where all these companies are rushing to do, and in my opinion, it's too little, too late, because you have things like Google Stadia coming out to where any device with an internet connection, you could play like a AAA title on. You know, you could play any game that's in Google Stadia on your phone. You know, get a controller that hooks up to it, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
So I just, mobile gaming doesn't do it for me.
I think that's going to be big. The
Yeah.
Stadia.
Yep.
What do you got there for your second, your next pick there, Thunder?
Second worst.
However you're going to go, because I think you were going backwards to forwards. So
Second best of the worst.
Second best of the worst for me is the re-release of the Xbox controller. Get over yourself. I mean, why make a huge deal? And this controller costs like $100, man.
180 bucks.
Fucking hell, man. Get over yourself. It has these weird paddles and a sensory thing and this crazy stiping on it. It's like, come on, it's a controller. If you want that much of a modified controller, people go get Scuff gaming controllers.
Yeah, get a Scuff, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, get over yourself now.
And then
I understand, but
what's your last worst thing that you've got on your list?
You're the best of the worst.
The best worst thing was the Banjo Kazooie. I figured that that's the worst thing they could have. Like, there's so much of a large nation of Smash players, and to just throw this kind of mediocre player out, it's like, why? You just could have just included that in the update, in like a patch or something. I felt like they could have presented the Nintendo community with the more of a respectable character, but to be like one of the best or the worst, I think Nintendo in general just didn't make a huge display, and they really don't. They really don't often, because they come from being like one of the largest gaming companies that we've had to deal with over our lifespan. I mean, well, especially my lifespan. I started off with Nintendo, and that I couldn't get over it. Like, when Sega came out, I didn't care. I didn't care because I had Nintendo. Nintendo was my baby. But I felt like over the years, Nintendo progressed until they got to the whole Wii. Once they hit the Wii, it just went. It was just done.
Well, because Nintendo made a decision at that point, you know, where your a lot of like your Xbox and your PlayStations and all that, they were pumping out all these titles.
Hmm.
Nintendo made the decision that they wanted it to be more family friendly.
Well, I don't even know if it was generated by being competitive or not, or they just wanted to take a step back and focus on families. And if that's the case, then I totally agree. Yeah, family friendly consoles are good, but when you compare apples to apples in the console genre, Nintendo is in there.
Yeah,
But
Here's
the
where
popularity.
Nintendo I think made the right choice with the latest console is they basically squashed the 3DS line into the Game Boy line, and they went with now one console instead of having two, your desktop console and then your mobile console, such as the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy
Mhm.
3DS. I thought that was a smart move on their part to have it in one contained unit. And now I think they need to take the next step on that console, which is to add a mobile chipset to it so that you can connect it to your cellular service. And
Oh, that would be cool.
I think that would be a step in the right direction so that you can literally take it anywhere, connect online, play with your friends anywhere. I know there's a lot
The
of
one
hurdles
thing,
to jump, but I think that's their next step.
and you see that's really to me when I think about Nintendo. When I think about the three major consoles, okay, so Nintendo and then your Xbox and your PlayStation. Um, Xbox and PlayStation, they both focused on the multiplayer aspects of the games. They focused on getting people from across the world together to play games.
hmm
Nintendo really didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They focused more on the you can play with the people that are right there in your own living room,
Mm-hmm.
but not so much, over the internet. And the Switch is, I mean, the Wii U came out with it. The Wii didn't really have the capability. The Wii U came out with it, but only for certain titles like Minecraft or Terraria or something like that. And then the Switch continued it, but there's still not a focus on internet multi.
hmm The
You
one
know,
thing that burns my biscuits about Nintendo is after they made these kind of next gen style consoles, they consistently want you to use Wi-Fi only. It's like, come on, put a damn Ethernet port on the thing. But instead, they want to charge you 30 to 50 bucks for an adapter. It's like, why? Okay, PlayStation is gonna start charging for Ethernet adapters 50 bucks. It's like, come on, man. Like
that's what
you're
they did on
pushing.
the PS2.
Yeah, they're pushing for this friend code thing. Play online, play Smash online. That's probably one of the worst things you can ever do in your life. Is play competitive Smash online. That's right up there next to crack or something.
Wow.
Heroin, meth, Smash online.
24-year-old man was arrested today playing Super Smash Brothers on.
Yeah, that's all right. Thorn, what's your worst of thing of E3?
Uh, you know, I E3 as a whole, they're and on. I mean, coming from years past, there really wasn't a whole lot in E3 this year. To me, there wasn't a whole lot. And I'll talk about that moving the needle. There wasn't a whole lot in E3 that moved that needle. I mean, there's certain games like that we talked about the Cyberpunk.
Mhm.
I'm really hyped up for Watch Dogs because I like the whole the genre, the whole story of it. Um, but yeah, there just wasn't a whole lot that moved the needle for me.
All right, guys. I was gonna go here with Bethesda because of just where they were, but I have
Uh-oh.
another number one worst thing that happened at E3, and it's not really anything to do with any um,
It
individual
has
company or anything else. It's this
Oh,
guy right here.
I already knew what you were about to say.
Everybody knows for me that I am not a fan of Dr. Disrespect because I think he's fake. I think he's a fraud. We all know that he is, but he really pushed the envelope. He live stream from inside the men's restroom at E3. He's now been banned from Twitch for I don't know how long, and his E3 pass got revoked for the rest of the event. This guy is an idiot.
He hasn't been on Twitter since it happened.
I don't blame him because he's going to get smashed for doing it. I won't be surprised if there's not criminal charges brought up against him for doing that. I'm not saying there is, but I'm not going to be surprised if you see it happen, guys.
I mean, the state of California has some, as relaxed a lot of laws that the state of California is, that kind of thing, they are not relaxed on at all.
And that's why I think both Twitch and E3 took immediate action and did those things to that.
The weird part is I see three major flaws in that whole scenario. One is in California and in other states, you cannot have cameras in the bathroom. That's for employee privacy and the public's privacy. Two, he recorded, or his camera crew, those two guys he hired, or for whatever type of video he was making, probably some montage on YouTube, he hired these guys. These dudes should have common sense too. And at the same time, they recorded innocent people using the restroom. And the third, there was a kid peeing next to the Sega shirt guy. It was a freaking kid.
Yeah.
This dude could have been like 11 or 12. That can be perceived as child pornography. Come on.
Yeah, he's I don't know how long he's gonna be banned for, but I would suspect that this time is going to be for quite a while on Twitch's platform.
It's for real. You know what? And this is this. You know, I don't fault it. I don't watch them because it's like, no matter what, I just don't get it. I don't get the shtick of it. I can see how some people would find that entertaining. Fine, whatever. To me, the thing that just irritates me, and it's for, you know, there's a lot of Twitch streamers that do this, is they get to this certain level, and it's like they're like, well, you know, nobody can touch me, so I can do whatever the hell I want to. Nobody's gonna say anything. They keep doing it, and I don't know if that's his mindset, but that's how he comes across. Is that there's just nothing that he will not do. Almost like that, what's his name, that went over to Japan and filmed in that forest, that Suicide Forest. What was his name?
I know who you're talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I just can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Like, you know, common sense has to come in somewhere. You know, I don't talk on the phone when I go to the bathroom. Dude, if I'm in the bathroom and I'm in a stall, like taking a shit, and somebody walks in the bathroom, dude, my butthole clenches so fast. I hold it in there because I don't want, because I'm like, my privacy is like so like just important to me. I was like, I don't want anybody to know that I'm shitting in the bathroom.
You're afraid of that big booming bass poop.
Just like the water faucet or whatever.
At my old job, I literally trolled a guy. Like, I was in the bathroom, and he was already in there for a long time, because when I came in, you know, the whole people just get shut down. They clench their ass up. They get quiet. They don't breathe. They breathe inside the shirt. And I was using the bathroom. I was peeing, and I went to wash my hands, and I noticed that I didn't hear his foot didn't shuffle. I didn't hear a cough or anything. I was like, okay, I'm going to troll this guy real quick. So I'm just going to keep washing my hands. I washed my hands for a while, and I was like, okay, I'm going to leave. So I opened the door, and I closed it, and I stayed inside. He was like, finally, bro. He just left the whole shit, and I started laughing, bro. I was like, oh my God, dude. That has to be so embarrassing. But I call it Twitch grace, like I put in chat. I like Doc as a character. He's funny. He does things his own way, and that's cool. And I think that's why he's won Streamer of the Year like 2 times in a row. But Doc is different. And you may have seen him, you might not like him. You know, I like him as an entity on Twitch, not for like how he carries himself. I think it's a weird persona, the whole kind of arrogant, I'm the best, blah 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 blah, and that's fine. He carries it well. He wears it well. But in this situation, that it's just common sense. He dropped the ball on it, and he's fully responsible for the people
that
he had assisting him. Well, I don't know if he wears the Twitch
He-
grace. I'm so big. Twitch can't do nothing to me. That's the
uh,
same thing that Ice Poseidon thought too.
yeah. the, the, the thing about it, that really gets me, and maybe it's more of a condemnation on where we are as a society. And I don't want to get into all that, all the semantics and all that stuff of it, but there are people that are defending him, and it's why
He
He's
fucked
wrong as
up.
hell.
He fucked up.
He's wrong as shit.
if there is ever a place to use the term sheeple, it is in this very instance, because these people have bought in so hard to whatever he is selling that he does something like this and they defend him. And, and back to his previous saying, and it's over, it's said and done now, as far as his affair that he had, and cheating on his
Mhm.
wife and all that. He comes out and does this sobbing apology. Fine, I'm not judging if it was real or not. I don't care. But then his first stream, he comes back and people are donating like $10,000 to him,
Yeah.
$20,000 to him. It's like, what the hell, people? What are you doing? Where are we that we promote these people as like, here are the people that we look up to in society? Somebody that goes into a bathroom and films people at the urinals pissing.
Yep.
Seriously?
And these are
Come on.
these are the same people that will come out and then cry that there's no equality. There's no cheating is wrong, and then they go out and do that kind of stuff. So it disgusts me. It is what it is.
It's the real white knights in real life.
Yeah. Let's switch gears and let's go the opposite way. Now let's do our from least to worst, least to best, most favorite thing that happened at E3.
I don't know if I can come up with 5.
All right, so let's just do this a little bit differently. Let's just go through our top list of what we think. We can go 3 if you want to do 3. Let's do 3. It'll be a little bit easier, and let's go from there. And to me, and this one's going to be on my list really just because I was not expecting this in any way, and that is that Final Fantasy VII remake. I get what you were saying about remakes. I get all that. But I was expecting, when I heard remake, remaster, for it to be in the same style, same boring ass thing with just some new stuff to add it into there. This looks like a completely, you could call this anything else, and it would be a new game and be fantastic. To me, that's just looking at it. That to me was a surprise at EA that I was not expecting, that I thought was really good.
Yeah.
Number 2 for me was by far is the Baldur's Gate release, because I played Baldur's Gate 1 or 2. I didn't play 1. I played 2. I remember that damn hamster. He's hilarious. But Baldur's Gate 3, I've been waiting almost, I think they said 20 years it's been since that game came out, and I'm excited and I can't wait for this release. And then obviously by far, to me, the number one thing at E3 was Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk 2077. Hands down, I've been waiting for this game since I've heard about it. And then having him in there as what he was, oh my God, that was just awesome to me.
And
What's the quote? You're all wonderful.
He came out on stage as John Wick. Pretty much, just talking about and he's presented like a mix of John Wick and whatnot. That's my number 1. I think that was awesome to see. My number 2 would be Watch Dogs, because I like it. I like the story. I think it'll be fun. It has much more of an RPG feel to it. So I think that will be a lot of fun. My third one, outside of the controller, because Hobo, I'm right with you. That was stupid. Why the hell would you bring out another controller? But the Xbox Scarlet, I think that Microsoft really took advantage of Sony not being there, and really got a leg up in the console war.
Damn it, you stole mine.
It's not really about stealing, man. If you want to touch more on it, by all means, do so. I mean,
Well, I'm a tech guy, so my number one is the AMD conference.
mhm.
I think just their innovation and their ability right now to take full reign of Intel's I don't want to say like leveraging the market on Intel, but Intel stepping back and focusing on another architecture, which is like laptops and other integrated graphics on chips. I think it was AMD's best time to step in and release their Ryzen 3 stack, which I'm very happy about. Um, that could be my number one. My number two is Cyberpunk. I've been following this game, like you said, for a very long time. And I remember when it didn't even have a freaking date. It was just one trailer. It actually wasn't even a trailer. It was just like a splash art from back in the day of the word. And I've been following it for a really long time. And for Keanu to come out and tell me that I'm amazing, I can't remember the exact quote, but he was like, "You're all amazing," or something like that. I was happy about that. I was happy that he was advocating for the game. Hopefully, it's going to live up to the hype. And third is the Scarlet. I'm excited to see how much of the console war is going to gravitate to being a small PC.
Yep.
That's what I'm excited about, because it seems like they're in the same makings where things are going to turn into like the Nvidia Shields or the Steam boxes. I wonder how much tech can they cram into this. According to this, the Xbox Scarlet due for 2020 is supposed to be 4 times more powerful, and with them including non-mechanical hard drives and custom internal things, I'm wondering how much of a baby PC is this going to be, and if it will suffice.
8K resolution at 120 FPS.
Well, I can already
Yeah.
guarantee, because they've been talking about this with the entire thing, is it's going to be able to run Windows 10. Because that's was their plan, was that they wanted all of their things back. This was back in the years. They wanted their consoles, their phones, their computers all running basically a similar. It could be a dumbed down version of Windows 10, but it basically is Windows 10 at its core.
But I also felt like they set themselves up last year when they announced that all of their Windows titles for Xbox will be available on PC.
Mhm.
It's like there's no way the Xbox is going to succeed when you could build something pretty cheap and run it decently above what Xbox was giving you, which was that weird Scorpion processor and all this other crazy crap. But at this point, I'm excited actually.
And see, the real thing, the real reason, I mean, why, because you do, there has, for a long time, there has been a line between PC gaming and console gaming. And the big thing is that, console gaming, everybody's working off the same stuff.
Mhm.
So you take one level of advantage that somebody might have over somebody else, you take that out of the picture.
Yep.
But now with Microsoft doing this, like I said, it's a tiny PC, and it's probably it's a lot more powerful than a lot of the gaming PCs out there, and it'll be probably like a $400 or $500 mark. Um, the only thing is people have to buy new monitors and whatnot, unless their heads, they live under a rock and they think that their TV or their monitor they have now will support.
It'll look good on any 4K TV you will currently have, but you're
Yeah,
right. As you were saying the other day, them finally being able to put those 8K TVs that they're creating to use, that's where you're going to start seeing the big sell on those 8K TVs.
Yep. Yep.
So, where else was I going to go? Oh, you were talking about Hobo earlier about how you were against the gaming services that are coming out, Origin, which has been out for a while, the Xbox Game Pass, and what's the other one? Ubisoft getting ready to release theirs. I'm actually in the opposite book of yours. I actually kind of like the idea for those that don't have the budget to go out and buy every brand new title that's out there. I think there is a place for it. Obviously, it's not for everybody, but I think it's a good thing for, you know, somebody who can. You're going to have to pick one, which is going to the downside behind a lot of it. You have to pick which one you want to do, unless you can do all three, and then go from there. I think it's going to be a good thing overall for the game market. Streamers really should be able to take advantage of it because of all the games that are out there.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's oversaturated, it's going to hurt itself. But right now, you really only have the 3 that I can think of right now. And I think that's probably the good number. Too many more, and you're going to have problems.
So what you got? PlayStation Plus and Xbox Pass. You got the Origin EA
PlayStation Plus.
Access.
PlayStation Plus is a little bit different because they aren't allowing you access to all the games.
Well, they're not allowing you access to new titles for a subscription. I'll retract that one. So like EA. So I'll tell you where I had the advantage. I got EA access to play Anthem early, which I only spent $15 for. Found out it was a dumpster fire. Canceled my subscription. Only paid $15. Yeah, it helped in that regard. But I feel like it's more not necessarily what it can do for the gamer or the community. I just feel like it's just another bandwagon, just for another company to say, hey, we have this subscription, subscribe to us, play our games. And I understand that, you know, it will add versatility to streamers, giving them a large library to host variety games, sub Sunday games, or just complete games that they used to play from back in the day. And I totally agree with that. But my stance on it is, I think it's just a bandwagon. Eventually, every developer is going to have a paid subscription. Because there's so many subscriptions to deal with.
There's so many people out there that, like, they have a Netflix subscription, they have an Amazon Prime subscription, they have Hulu, they have all these different subscriptions. They don't use everything out of one subscription. They do a little bit out of each one.
Correct.
And so the cost to develop is then split up more evenly across everything. And so these developers have caught on. And then also, I mean, how many people out there will sign up for one of these subscriptions and never use it, forget about it, and forget to cancel, you know?
There's free money for them.
Well, see, that's like what I did with the Origin one. When that dropped, I bought the big $100 yearly pass for it. So I have Origin till January of next year, give or take.
Yeah.
I've used it for Anthem, and that's been it so far. I mean, I do have Madden installed, but
now, do you feel that $100 was worth it at this current point?
With as much as I've used it, no. But there's with Jedi, with the Fallen Empire game coming out this year, I'm already going to be set up for it. I won't have to buy that one right off the bat. I'll be able to get that on release. The new Madden drops, I'll be able to play that when it comes out. So I do think that I will get my money's worth out of it. But as of this point right now, I do not think that I did. But I definitely probably will.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of subscriptions to keep up with. Like you were saying, like the Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Origin Pass, or EA Access. It's a lot to keep up with. I remember I was subscribed to Phantasy Star Online for like 2 years and forgot.
That game.
2 years and forgot.
That game was, when it dropped, everybody had, because Phantasy Star itself, the original Phantasy Star on, what was it, the Genesis or whatever it was, great game. And everybody was excited about Phantasy Star Online, and it turned out to be a complete and total dumpster fire. So now I see Final Phantasy Star 2 coming out, and I'm like, really?
Yeah. It's so late for that.
Really?
I meant to speak on that earlier. I think it's just too late because it had its heyday in the end, like in the midterm of around Xbox 360.
Yep.
And then you heard nothing of it. They started to lose player base, and they still kept the cost to play it. I forget the amount, but it wasn't really cheap. It wasn't like your standard $14.99.
Yeah, it's that was one of those weird games that was released that I was just like, what? Why?
And it's like super popular in Japan. It's like Japan's like one of their biggest style. I don't know the genre that it plays in.
That's because anything that that Japan can do like that, to where they can automate and have bots to gather stuff, and then they sell the currency and all that.
Oh,
It's
they freaking love it.
it's all it's rampant through WoW, so it spreads out into everything.
All right, so let's wrap this thing up here with it. Give us your final thoughts on the show as a whole, and what you kind of expect for next year. Go ahead, Hobo.
I think my thoughts on this particular E3, it was decent at best. With the highs and with the lows, I want to say it was probably decent. I've seen better E3s before, like on the premiere, the division. That E3 was hype as hell. That E3 was super hype, and the E3 that they rolled in the Anthem, that was super hype. But I think they can do better with making the segments either longer or breaking them up into different like partitions. But 30-minute segments, they tend to rush through stuff, and I think that they should show they should be regulated to show actual gameplay. Because you have some of these developers like, oh, you want to see gameplay? Let's show you gameplay. Here's a render that we've that we've done, and everybody is so like taken back by one. You get the CGI trailer, everybody enjoys it. Now, how does the game actually play? And they can't present that. So I think that if E3 would start to recommend that you bring along actual gameplay, I think it'll be better for the actual like the pursuing customer. For me, example, if I got to see like the little roller thing, the roller champions, they'll say, "Oh, you want to see gameplay?" And then they show like a 30 FPS render. It's like, what the hell? This is still a trailer. So I don't know. I think one of the big things for me, one, is to make it more over the top. Make E3 like a Coachella. Make this shit huge. Make it feel like something that you can't miss. And I think it'll, maybe it might draw in more people or maybe not, but at least you'll make that huge footprint. All the gamers know about E3. My buddy at work didn't even know E3 was going on because it wasn't even that big for him. But if you make it more of a grand scale and have to present actual gameplay, you could actually prove that this is what this game actually looked like. And then you won't get caught off balance like how Anthem lied and how the Division 2 lied at their demos. So, or the Division 1 lied at their demos. Half of the stuff wasn't even available.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's my take.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go next here. And overall, I thought it was a very mediocre E3, as everybody said. I think there was definitely its highs: Cyberpunk 2077, Baldur's Gate. The one thing we didn't touch on today was the streaming service by Bethesda, the Orion. That'll be very big coming up, I think, in the near future. I think it was overall was mediocre. No real splashies from any one developer, but there was a lot of little things that made you go, ooh, wow. I think there needs to be more of that, like you said. I think there needs to be more gameplay. I think there should be games that aren't so early in development being announced. Like we got all these games that were due out in 2020. Now I know a year is acceptable for a lot of stuff, but this year was more about every time you heard a release date, when's it coming out? 2020, 2020, 2020. I got annoyed with hearing that because I'm like, what do we got coming out this year? So I'd like to see more games that are closer to E3 that'll be released before the holiday season, and I would like to see a lot more of that going forward. As far as next year goes, I think you're going to have probably one of your most hype, because you're going to get Microsoft announcing more detailed specs on Scarlet, when the official name for it, Scarlet in general. The hardware is going to be phenomenal. I don't know if PlayStation is going to make it back to show theirs off, but you very well could see the console wars come back for next year.
Yep.
And I think you're going to get more details on Skyrim 6. I think you're going to get more details. I said Skyrim, Elder Scrolls 6. I think you're going to get more details on Bethesda's unnamed project they're working on, or it's named, but I can't remember what the name of it is. I'm hoping for less damage control next year and more we listen to our players, and this is what we're presenting to you. So, what you got, Thorn?
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot, which already kind of said. So, personally, I would hope that next year that line never escapes the mouth of any developer. We listen to our players, and this is what. No, make a game, just make a game. And I know it's kind of contradictory to what I've said, but um, if you need to take a risk, take a risk. If Bethesda, to me, you get like one time, take a risk. If it doesn't work out next year, come back and you have something that's much better. Then you can say, "Hey, we listen to our players." But I don't know. I don't Bethesda can't. I don't think they can really survive another E3 like this one. I don't. There's not a whole lot of hope there. Sony, I think they need to come back with something, or maybe who knows that maybe in a couple months are like, you know what, Microsoft had their time to shine, but here's our PlayStation 5 or whatever, and here's the specs on it and whatnot. They might try to one up there. So I'm just looking for a little bit more in E3. So.
All right, guys. So that pretty much wraps up episode number 2. Hobo, we'd like to thank you for stopping by today and partaking in our conversation. We do appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Joe. Thank you so much for the invitation, man.
And we'll
I
gladly
enjoyed
have you
myself.
back on at some point in the near future. This show's probably going to be pretty much probably a monthly show, and it may get more as we get more people liking what they see, listening to the shows. We're watching the stats on our YouTube channel. We did have a brand new YouTube channel. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick here. What else you got, Thorn?
Nothing much. I actually did. Well, no, we'll talk about that offline. So no, not. There's some good things in the works. Matt and I have been working on for a while, but this podcast is the major one. There's some other things that we've been working on for a while. So keep your eye on Twitter and Discord servers and all that.
Let's see. I'm still looking for it here. Anything else you want to add, Hobo, at the very end?
Not much. Just thanks for having me on. I've been wanting to be a part of some sort of podcast or start my own or be a guest on podcasts for so long now. I don't know. I feel like even if it doesn't have to be about gaming, that I have a lot to talk about or could bring some comedy or some sort of hilarity to a podcast. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be on here. Don't forget from EA, don't forget Anthem's the rebuttal. We learned a lot. Don't forget that. Don't forget that at all. But other than that, no, man, I had a really good time, man. I'm really glad y'all brought me on as a guest. I hope to be back. Maybe different terms, different subject. We can kick it again.
So there is the link to the YouTube channel, guys. Be sure to go out and subscribe to it here. I got in a Bitly link, so you're not going to see the full YouTube link because unfortunately we're not partnered yet. So we've got the really long, drawn-out links that they have. I was able to shorten it with Bitly. So go ahead and go out there, click on it. I will have this podcast up tomorrow at some point, and we'll tweet it out when it comes live. Yeah, Hobo, we plan on doing podcasts about everything. We just, with E3, we thought this was a good time to get us launched, get going. We're going to have, probably in the near future, we're going to have our NFL kickoff special as it gets closer to the season. We're going to do, just...
Excuse me.
Anything? What'd you say, Thorn?
What?
What'd you say, Thorn? We're gonna have all kinds of stuff that we're gonna be doing here, and it's gonna be quite fun and entertaining. As we said in the last podcast, we are looking for graphic designers to help improve this beautiful layout we got here. If you know anybody, send them our way. We'll gladly
I was like, yeah, we've been working on this for 2 years. This is the best graphic that we could come up with. Work.
But we thank everybody for stopping by, hanging out, and once again, thank you. And we are the Technically Difficult Podcast, bringing you today's news tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.